WERE, Cleveland Heights, powered by the new BlackPlanetRadio.com. Views, opinions, claims, or representations are those of the participants and are not those of 1490 WERE AM's owners or management. Broadcast or rebroadcast in any form of 1490 WERE programming is prohibited unless otherwise agreed to in writing.
This is for them rough days when you feel like giving up days.
Welcome back to OCU Forum.
Your forum.
I'm Darnell Brewer, and this is
Miss Mariah.
And for the next hour, we'll be talking to and listening to you, our audience, and simulcasting live from
Plenty Do Right.
Because we got to do what's right.
That's right. That's right. We got to do what's right.
Well, unfortunately, I don't think people down at City Hall are doing anything right.
Oh, my gosh. What is going on here?
Councilman's going crazy.
Okay, so let me ask you this question, because you know I got to ask this question. Let's start with my boy, Zach Reed. Okay, let's start with him. We got to start there. We can't leave this one out.
Oh, goodness.
Let's talk about Zachary Reed, okay? What's up with that? Bruh don't want to step down from...
He said he's going to campaign from behind the jail if he have to. He said he's going to be...
You big dummy.
Thank you very much.
It like I say, Zach is a friend, but I do think he needs to step down.
Listen, Zach, if you're listening, and you're probably not, so if you're...
Well, he has his own show.
If Zachary's friend, I could take over while he gone.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, he's going to need somebody to fill that seat. Hey.
Yeah, well, he's going to need somebody to fill the council seat, too, because Sweeney trying to get his butt out of there, okay? So, come on now. Zach, be realistic here. If you want to send a clear message that you are really sincere about having
the best interest of
the error of your ways,
right,
then what you need to do is you need to step down, take your punishment, clean up, and spend the next 4 years being sober. Spend the next 4 years showing people the genuineness of your heart, that you are truly, truly, truly sorry, and that you know you need help.
A redemption
Get the help.
run.
Exactly. Spend the next 4 years making Zach a better man,
right,
so that when I sit behind these mics, I'm not talking about you like that, okay? What you need to do, Zach, be a man of integrity at this point. Step down, because what you're telling the people who are sitting behind bars is that it's okay. They can run for seats too.
So maybe our next mayor could come from behind bars. Maybe our next council person can run from behind bars.
Well, honestly, I would probably feel better about them coming from behind bars, because at least I know they crooks for real.
Oh, no! We suck again!
I love you, Leo. At least I know they real criminals, not playing not playing the good guy role. So,
well, yeah, Zach does need to. I think he's making this into a interview time for him, because even after it's been over, he's been on all the radio programs. He's been all on the
But that's
TV.
what happens.
And
he ain't coming
on this show.
Yeah. But that's what happens when you find yourself in a situation where you have no control. You start to just kind of lose it, and you just all over the place. Instead of just sitting down, settling down, and figuring out the best game plan for your life, he's all over the place. He really, to me, that's that rat in the maze kind of mentality that's going on with him. But if he wants to be sincere, and if he really cares about the community, Zach will spend the next 4 years getting clean, being sober, having
and
a
being
clean
active
record,
in the community
and be
at the
active,
same time.
exactly, without his $75,000 a year salary.
That's right.
Forfeit it, Zach. Give it up. But here's what I thought was interesting, because I can't go without hitting Jeff Johnson. Jeff snatched the mic out of somebody's hand, Johnson.
You big dummy.
Jeff Johnson is in an outrage right now about Eugene Miller, and everybody's focused on Eugene Miller. Now, mind you, this happened back in June, so I think it's interesting that this just now came out. But he's asking that all of council
hold a special hearing,
and punish him for misconduct. He has not asked for a special hearing for Zachary Reed, and he been drunk how many times?
Well, I think
1, 2, 3.
I think the justification was
justification.
In this one,
just a lie, but go ahead.
Is they didn't see. You have to witness. It's something about witness. You have to witness the actions of.
We got it on video.
I hear what you're saying. On both of them, right? One is on tape, one is on video. So
Lord.
I think that's where it came into play. But you also got to think, right, it's the election year. It's the election tactic.
And they're fighting each other, and that's what I said before.
How
Look how cutthroat they are.
I was about to say, how would you feel every Monday if I got to go to City Hall and see you, the person who's trying to take my job and also try to downtrot me? They have to interact at some point.
So, okay, I just want to know why Eugene Miller hasn't come out against Jeff Johnson about assaulting Don Bryant. Since they want to be cutthroat about it, why doesn't he come out and say, well, look what Jeff Johnson has done? And why don't he come out about the surveillance cameras? Because he a newbie at this. He not a cutthroat like the rest of them. He a newbie. They ain't broke him in well enough. So, you know what? I think that's a positive. Eugene, run now before they corrupt you. Just run. Just go. Just leave it alone.
I think Jeff and some other people argue against that one. But, yeah, it's getting cutthroat over there in the neighborhood, not just on the local level, but the state level, too. We have so much that is going on that
it's everywhere.
It's everywhere.
Pandora's box is open. It's just open. Did you see that the Democrats, not the Republicans, the Democrats are going to cut food stamps. Not the Republicans, folks. Put the Kool-Aid down right now. Just put the Kool-Aid down.
It doesn't matter if you're Republican or Democrat. It should be the person who does the best for the job.
But I got another one for you. Did you see the other Democrat that wants to limit the amount of births that you're able to have?
Yes, I saw that one too.
Because he thinks the earth is overpopulated. You know, these are Democrats, okay? And we keep going, Democrat. I don't care about the party affiliation. I need to know, how are you voting and what do you believe before you get in that office? And, you know, Joan Sonnenberg.
I love Joan Sonnenberg.
She's a wonderful judge. Excellent judge.
Excellent.
Republican.
Yes, she is.
Republican.
And I'll vote for her any day.
I would too. I think that we need to understand that you have people who are good judges and they are good politicians, and you have people that are sitting on that bench only because of name recognition and because people go Democrat. I'm going to vote Democrat every time. Well, let me tell you something. The Democrats are not doing us any more justice than what you think the Republicans are doing. And as much as people want to get upset about Governor Kasich cutting the money to the abortion clinics and everything, well, African Americans and whites equally use abortion as birth control. Why do we have to pay for that? Why not become more responsible with your sexuality? If you have, my mama told me this: if you have sex, expect to get pregnant or get a disease. And if you get a disease, hopefully it's something they can cure. But if you have a baby, you better be ready to take care of that baby.
That's not politically right.
Like Dr. Salem said, everybody trying to be political. I'm not politically correct. I won't be politically correct. I don't have to, because history has shown me, Mr. Frederick Douglass, I don't have to be politically correct, because being politically correct keeps my people enslaved in poverty and oppressed and depressed. And I am not going to stand by and watch the people that I love in my community continue to be adversely affected by the people that we have done what? Elected to office.
Well, some got to check. Oh, let's give our call. Maybe someone to call it. 216-578-1490. 216-578-1490. Just in case you want to join our discussion. We haven't given up the call.
They know the number down there, Blue. They know the number.
216-578-1490.
They don't want to talk to me tonight. See, they don't like my voice. Now, are you happy? Are you happy? Nobody's calling.
Give a minute. Jeff may call in.
Jeff not going to call in.
Jeff, Zach,
Jeff need to be slapped with a wet tea bag so that they bust open and all the stuff will be all over his face. He just need to quit. Lord have mercy. What is wrong with these people?
Well, that goes back also to your mayor's race.
Oh, back to the mayor's race. Let's talk about that.
Back to the mayor's race, yes.
Let's talk about that, shall we? Ken Lancey put out billboards that are upside down. Even when I saw it, I was like, why they put his billboard upside down? Was that a conspiracy theory or something? And so this was actually on our way to the City Club on Monday for the event that we held. And so I got down there and I found out that Ken had them put upside down intentionally. And the reason he had them put upside down intentionally was because he said the city is upside down. The only way to fix it is to elect him. Which I thought was cool. It was cool.
It gets your attention.
It gets you talking
about it.
And it gets you asking, why is that sign upside down?
Correct.
Okay?
It got me talking about
exactly.
it. Exactly. We're talking about it.
Let me get something out the way. I am not a Lancey supporter, and I am not a Jackson supporter. I am a community supporter.
And let me make that clear. at our forum, that's what it was all about.
And that's what that forum was about. It had nothing to do with Ohio Communities United endorsing anybody, and I specified that specifically at the beginning and at the end. This is not an endorsement. This is not an endorsement for either one of the candidates. What it is it's an opportunity to begin to restore the democratic process. And the process has eroded because now we don't have good, healthy competition for seats.
Well, not just in the mayor's race, but look at the council races and all the city council people that will not debate the person that is running against them.
And that's not democratic. But that's not a democratic process. That is a dictatorial process. And we have a caller on line 1. Line 1?
Linda, you got the air.
Yes. Good evening. How are you?
Good
Thanks
evening.
for calling.
Oh, well, thanks. I'm a constant listener, and you're talking about something that's near and dear to my heart, the quality of education that our kids are not getting. That is a problem. It has been a problem with me for the last 30 years. And I, as a taxpayer, I don't feel like waiting any longer for our kids to get a quality of education. It's up to us. When I mean us, the people in the community and the neighborhoods, the taxpayers, the voters, the mothers, the fathers. We are all part of the problem, and we can be a part of the solution.
Amen.
I'm sick of every year when it comes time for our educators or teachers. I don't call them educators that quick because there's not a lot of educators out there. We got a bunch of teachers. Educators don't need, 5 or 6 degrees to teach the kids. And then we got a group of people that are sitting there from the suburbs that don't live amongst us, and they're sitting on a board, and they're going to sit there and decide what's good for our kids and what's not good for them. I mean, you had Zach Reed, how many years ago when it came time? He was an advocate of the liaisons from council that came in and said, hey, let the mayor take over the schools.
Right.
And what has happened since the mayor has taken over the schools? Has the quality of education improved for our kids?
No, it has not.
No, it has not.
Okay, and then we have these, lamed up councilmen, council people. I agree with you. I want to vote for the incumbent. But I want somebody in there that has a purpose, a plan, and a vision.
Well, he says he has a plan now. He's specified 13 schools that they're going to give special attention to.
I don't want to specify 13. I want all our kids to.
Thank you. And that's what we said on these airs.
Thank you.
If you're only going to specify 13 schools, how does the other rest of the schools feel about it?
I mean, you have one school up there, Blue Ribbon School, and that used to aggravate me. It used to make my stomach in.
Whitney Young.
You have a Blue Ribbon School. What are you giving these kids up there with my tax dollars that all the kids should be privy to?
I agree. And you know what they need to bring back is arts and science and sports. And I think we can look at the recent killing where those 3 young men say they were bored and they killed the Australian student.
In Oklahoma, yeah.
And, that is a clear indication that, children that young, because I think one of them was 13 and one of them was 17 and another one was 19. But they were teenagers. And, when we leave entertainment and video games and things like that to raise our children on, what do you think we're going to get? We're going to get murderers. You're bored. Let's go do the live version of
the video game.
The video game.
And I've always been an advocate of these teachers' pay being tied to the success of the children, because you can't tell me you got a 15 or 20% graduation rate, and then you're going to sit down at a table and negotiate benefits, and then when it comes time for the school term, then discipline is a problem. But when you sit around that table and negotiate those benefits for yourself, discipline is never a problem. Okay, during that school term, but you still come get that check every 2 weeks. See, that's not a problem for you to come into the inner city to get that check.
That's true.
Problem with it.
Oh, now they don't have to come in. They got direct deposit.
I still have a problem with you taking my money back out there to live on. You can't work in your own neighborhood. Why? Because maybe, if you can't teach, you're not qualified to teach in your own neighborhood, then you're going to come in and miseducate my child. I'm tired of that. When you put 3 kids through school and they'll say 5 years apart and the educational system diminishes, nothing gets better. It's just gotten worse for 15 years. Then something is wrong. And I, as a taxpayer, I don't feel like waiting year to year to improve the quality of education.
I agree. Thank you so much for
Yeah,
calling,
Linda, keep up the good work.
Yep, we've got two other callers.
Linda's been a fighter for a while.
Yeah, and keep listening to us, Linda, and keep supporting OCU Forum.
Next caller, your forum, right? Next caller, turn down your radio just a little bit.
Okay.
Go ahead, you got the floor.
Okay, Miss Mariah, the person that you have on that I'm listening to right now, I agree with her 100%, and I agree with you. And I want you to know you said nobody's calling in. I'm calling in. This is Israel of the African Chamber of Commerce. I'm calling in. I find your program edifying and enlightening. It's beautiful. Keep on doing it.
Thank you, Israel. And I apologize for not being there last night. I went to sleep. But I will see you all next week on Thursday.
Okay. All right. God bless. Keep on doing it.
And
Thanks,
keep on
Israel.
listening. Thank you.
Next caller.
Caller, you got the floor.
Hello. How are you? This is Dick Peary.
Hey,
Hi, Mr.
Dick.
Peary.
How are you?
You doing? Okay. I was listening to you. I was in my car. I'm sorry I couldn't hear everything that was said earlier. But I'm glad you had Dorothy Salem on.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I did hear your remarks on the school system. And if you just indulge me a little, I just wanted to put my 2 cents in.
Go for it.
Go right ahead.
You kept talking about it as though it was a matter of we got the wrong people running it, and if we just get the right people in there, things would change. And I think that the problem we're facing is so much larger
It is.
than
I
just
agree.
who happens to be the employees at the school system.
I agree.
For one thing, the community has to demand change. It's not going to come from the system unless the community demands it.
That's true.
And two, what we have going on throughout the country, and Cleveland's at the epicenter of it, is we're seeing public education that's existed in this country for 200 years. We're seeing it being dismantled.
Mm-hmm.
And private interests are taking over education, controlling education, and they are trying to eliminate public schools. They've virtually done it in New Orleans because of Katrina. That gave them the opportunity. They didn't restore the public school system the way it was. They're doing it in Detroit. They're doing it in Philadelphia. And with the mayoral control here in Cleveland, we see that the school system is being parceled off to private interests. We don't know who they are. We don't know who's making the money. And we know that the charter schools, nobody knows who's on those boards and what happens with them. But we see that our tax dollars are being taken out of the public school system and put into these charter schools, some of which are very good and some of which are very bad. Mm-hmm. But I think that unless we look at this as a part of the takeover of private industry, taking over the government function, that we won't really quite understand what's going on. And we have to fight it on a broad political level, not just change the few people that are on the board.
I agree. And, I've discussed that before, Mr. Peary, is that what I've seen and I've heard is that they spend so much time testing the children but not teaching the children. And that's a big problem for me because that's a multi-million-dollar industry within itself. When you're talking about compiling tests, mailing tests, having the tests taken, mailing them back, having them graded, having the scores sent back out, coming up with a new test next week, and the cycle continuing all around, how much money is being spent in doing just that versus putting that money into education?
Yeah. Well, you're right, and what has happened is the whole philosophy of education is changing. We're allowing it to be changed from one of serving children to one of setting up a marketplace idea where you have some kids who win and some who lose. Some systems win, some lose. And what you're going to, it used to be with mandatory public education, the school system was responsible for every child and had an obligation to make every child succeed. Now what you're getting as you go to this marketplace model is the ones that are easy to teach, they're the lucky ones, might get a good education, and those who don't get a good education, that's on them. That's their fault. This year we saw for the first time ever, the school system was telling parents, choose the right schools for your children. We got all these schools out here that your kids can attend, and it's up to you to choose a good one instead of putting your kid in a bad one.
And
you heard that, didn't you,
yes.
from the school system?
Yes, and what's
they were
the
saying
reality
how much
of
they
it?
wanted the parents to be sure they made the right choice. Well, the fact is that in the old days, they couldn't say, we got bad schools here, and we're not going to do anything about it. It's up to the parents.
But that's
just
the whole
to make
point.
sure that they pick the right school.
They're telling us. That's the whole point. They're telling us there are some good schools, there's some bad schools. It's up to you to choose. But people aren't hearing what's being
instead of saying,
said.
we have to fix the bad schools and make them all good.
Exactly. But people aren't
They don't
listening.
say that anymore.
People aren't
and that
listening.
becomes the marketplace model where buyer beware.
Exactly.
We're no longer obligated to the kids. And the whole point of all this is to throw away our children from low-income backgrounds or children from families where there are a lot of challenges. They want to get rid of any responsibility for them, and they're doing it by converting to this marketplace model. And so I guess what I was trying to get at, what I wanted to say is simply, we got to start attacking this, not on the level of who's in charge and what individuals aren't doing their job. We got to attack this on changing the whole model of education that they're imposing on us. Otherwise, we're going to see our kids really being destroyed, and when they can get the poorest black kids and ignore them, they'll be able to get everybody else.
I agree.
Correct.
I agree.
These are things that I hope that we can, discuss a lot more.
Well, I took it upon myself to, like I said, I don't know if you heard this part, to take my children out and homeschool them. And I was sick. I was very sick when I made that decision. I was very early on injured from the car accident, and I had all these other health problems that were going on, and I was literally almost incapacitated, but I was determined I was not going to leave my kids, as sick as I was not going to leave them in the hands of people who were not going to educate them. And my son came home. He was going to Nathan Hale on MLK. And he walked in the house, and he was so sad. He was so upset. And I said, "What's wrong?" He was in the 6th grade. I said, "What's wrong, baby?" He said, it was a white male teacher, and it reminded me of the scene in Malcolm X when he wanted to be a lawyer, and he said, "Oh no, that's not a good idea for a black man." It reminded me of that scene so much. My son came in the house, and he looked at me, and he said, "Mom," he said, "you think I'm gonna be in the 6th grade for the rest of my life?" I said, "No, why would you say that?" He said, "Well, Mr. So-and-so told me I need to get used to being in the 6th grade. I'm going to be in the 6th grade for the rest of my life." And I saw my son's self-esteem. I saw everything about my son at the lowest I'd ever seen it. It was like this man had deflated everything I had ever put in him all his little life. And I said, "Oh, no, that's not going to happen." So I pulled my children out of the school system, and I spent all the time I could in terms of educating them and teaching them and keeping them where their self-esteem would not be ruined by somebody telling them, that you're not going to be successful, you're not going to have the things that I know my kids are entitled to have, and I was not going to let anybody take that away from them. And as much as they fought me on it, my children, I can say, and I'm proud of them, they are successful, because I know that had I not taken the initiative to educate my kids, it wouldn't have happened.
Well, yes, but and that's great, and you're a strong and talented mother who can do that, and it's good that you did it. But there are many other mothers out here, for whatever reason, aren't going to be able to do what you did.
And I agree.
It took so much effort for you to do it with all of your skills and your talents. Many others can't. And it used to be that the responsibility for reaching out to those children was a community one. The system was supposed to do it. Now that's just being thrown out the window.
Right.
And so if they don't happen to have a mother like you, they're being told, in effect, well, if you don't get a good education, it's your parents' fault. It's not the system's fault.
Right.
And that, if we allow that to keep growing, if we just find the individual solutions and don't deal with the rest of it, we're going to see, I think, all of us being pulled down in the future. And
I agree. I totally agree. I have young men who are in my neighborhood that I have talked to and I've worked with over the years that were growing up with my sons at the same time, and they would come over and they would learn things because they wanted to know, and I invested in them. And a couple months ago, I saw one of those young men, and I looked at him over my glasses, and I said, "What you doing?" He said, "Mama, I'm doing just fine. I got a good job. I got a car and a girlfriend, and I'm doing good, and I'm not going to jail because you told me it's something special in me." Because that's what I tell these young men when I see them. It's something special in you. You can make it in this world. Don't you let anybody tell you can't. And that's the part that we play individually when we have these children come into contact with us. I believe when God brings kids into your life, he doesn't bring them into your life for just any reason. He brings them so that you can mold them and teach them and bring them, because that may be something that he's placed on you. And so these young men I've seen, and they come around the corner and they see me all the time. If I go down the street, they wave to me, "Hey, Mama, I checked on you. Your house is fine." And they look out for me. And these kids don't get in trouble, and they're trying. And one of them said to me a couple of days ago, he said, I went to school and I didn't do too well. I failed. I said, "That's all right. You're going to go back to school and you're going to come down the street and I'm going to tutor you, and I don't want to hear any more excuses." He said, "Yes, ma'am." So I'm still waiting for him to show up. But if he doesn't, I'm going to go find him. But that's something that I decided to do a long time ago, was that not just invest in my children, but the children within my immediate community who need the guidance. And like you said, don't have the mother who has the strength that I have to encourage them and invest in them.
Yeah. Well, that's very good that you're there. No question about it.
Well, I love my community. I keep telling y'all I love my community. I love my community.
Well, look, I just wanted to get that off my chest, that this is much bigger than just the individuals involved. And
it is.
Unless we can see the big picture, they'll win. They'll be able to run over us.
Right. And
we have to really look at who is really doing what and why they're doing it.
Right. And we have to pick up that mantle and do it. We just can't keep sitting by and letting our politicians make these decisions. We have to come together as a community and make those decisions for our children.
Yeah.
Thanks,
well,
Dick.
okay, then. Well, thanks very much for the time.
We appreciate you. We always appreciate you.
All right.
So I was wondering, how much time? We got a break?
Yeah, we got to go to a break.
We're going to a break, but before we go to break, if anyone saw Jeff Darcy's billboard cartoon that he had in today's paper, I want to discuss that when we come back. So if anybody saw that, I would like you to call in when we come back from our break from OCU Forum.
Your Forum.
News Talk 1490 and the Northeast Ohio Regional Sewer District present Do Something Day at Carowish Park, 17,000 Tarkington Avenue, tomorrow from 9 a.m. till 11 a.m. Join us for the Mill Creek cleanup as we help beautify our community. Visit newstalkcleveland.com for more details.
Make sure your child is up with the alarm and ready for school each morning, because missing just 18 days, even in middle school, will put their graduation at risk. It's up to you. Learn more at boostup.org. Brought to you by the U.S. Army and the Ad Council.
Protect and improve your health. Have more energy. Lose weight. Rev up your brain. Slow down your aging process. That's what happens when you listen to pharmacist Jerry Hickey, Dr. Richard Walker, and me, Rob Martin, on Invite Radio every morning, Monday through Friday at 9, right here on WERE 1490. Hear about all the amazing scientific studies that will help you achieve optimal health now and well into the future. Brought to you by InviteHealth.com.
Hey, there's my son.
Hey, Dad.
What's wrong with your voice?
There is nothing wrong with my voice.
Well, it's just sort of.
Hello, Dad.
Susan? Guys, I think it's about time to get in the car and maybe see some green things.
What are these green things you speak of?
This weekend, unplug. Getting closer to nature can get you closer to your family. To find the forest nearest you, go to discovertheforest.org. Brought to you by the U.S. Forest Service and the Ad Council.
Hi, this is Reverend Al Sharpton, host of Keeping It Real with Al Sharpton. What you'll get on my show is real, plain, and simple. You get the truth. You get the facts. I'm here. I'll always be here, and I'll always keep it real. We keep it real. We keep it real. We keep it real.
Keeping it real with the Reverend Al Sharpton. Weekdays 1 till 4 p.m. on the People's Station. News Talk 1490 WERE. And streaming live on the new BlackPlanetRadio.com.
Dr. Davis.
Nurse, set up an IV. And you, her boyfriend, you were the driver?
Yes, doctor, but I didn't mean to hurt her. I only had a few drinks. I was just buzzed.
Just buzzed? Oh, then your girlfriend is fine.
Hey, sweetie. I feel great.
She's really okay?
What, are you kidding? No, not really. Nurse, get me a suture kit. Stat.
Buzzed driving. Maybe we should stop acting like it's no big deal. Buzzed driving is drunk driving. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Transportation and the Ad Council.
WERE, Cleveland Heights, powered by the new BlackPlanetRadio.com.
Welcome back. Welcome back to OCU Forum. Your forum, I have to say it for Darnell. He stepped out for a minute, but before we went to break, hey, Darnell, you're back. Welcome back.
To OCU Forum.
Your forum. On God.
Touche.
Okay. And remember, if you want to contact us, go to www.ocuforum.com, put in a contact form, visit our guest book, go to Facebook to Ohio Communities United-OCU Forum and like our page. We put the pictures up for the City Club event, the Mayoral Candidate Forum that we held this past Monday. So the pictures are all up and everything is good to go on the Facebook page. And we are dedicated to making our community, our city, our state, our county, where we live, by far a better place, because we believe that can only happen through the residents and through the voting and through the process, the democratic process, to have it restored. And so we welcome all new members. Remember, we do need your help to stay on the air. We need $10 a month from you. That's it. Just $10 a month to help support and keep OCU Forum on. And all you have to do is send a contact form. Tell us what you're interested in. And we also looking for volunteers to help us do the work that we're doing. So please contact us at our website. And before we left, Darnell, I want to talk about this billboard cartoon about Ken Lancey that Jeff Darcy created.
Yeah, he did.
And if no one saw it, it's a depiction of one of Ken's billboards that are upside down, and then underneath it he says there's another cartoon billboard with Frank Jackson's face on it, and it says keep Mayor Frank Jackson because his signs don't look like they were put up by a drunk Zach Reed.
And you know where this billboard is really focused from? If you go down Carnegie next to Lancers, that is where because there's a billboard on top of a billboard. And I guarantee you that's where, because there is a Lancey sign on top that is upside down, and there's a sign on bottom. So that is one of the billboards right there. But Mr. Darcy does need
keep going.
He does need to address this. But if you know anything about Mr. Darcy and his editorials in the Cleveland Plain Dealer, this is not one of the first time he has insulted anyone when it came to editorial cartoons. And this one, if you read the article as to why he did this, it not only insults Lancey, but it also insults
Timothy and Melissa. And I think he deserves a "you big dummy" most certainly behind this cartoon. Big dummy. I think that he needs to apologize to the families of Timothy and Melissa. If you all did not see this, I'm going to read this to you. It's a very, very brief. It's not a very long little editorial, but I'm going to read it. It says, "No, Zach Reed, Ken Lancey's billboard isn't a sobriety test. He had it hung upside down to get attention, but you're still in more desperate need of help than Lancey's campaign. Lancey's billboard gimmick is a better and safer way to grab attention than sexting pics of himself to Sidney Leathers, sexually harassing subordinates, bankrupting a city, or hiring a fire chief who threatens to stab a firefighter for not following the dress code. But upside-down billboards aren't better attention getters than endorsements. So I'm sure Lancey's thrilled to have won the endorsement of the CPD union. Lancey can now drive his Bentley safely by the Justice Center without having to worry about being chased by the entire department if one of the bulbs in the backseat tanning bed suddenly pops like a gun firing. Picking up an endorsement means he might not have to resort to another attention-grabbing gimmick, making a public appearance in modest wheels without the trademark tan that makes Boehner look pale. I think this is insulting. I think this is so insulting to Timothy and Melissa. It's insensitive to the families of Timothy and Melissa, and it's a black eye to this community for him to even incorporate that into his editorial cartoon opinion here. Timothy and Melissa, I am so ticked off, Darnell, that they brought Jimmy DeMora back here to answer. The man got the rest of his life in prison. They brought him back to see if there are any more local charges they can bring against him. And we still don't have a charge against Michael Brillo and Cynthia Moore. We have no charges brought against two police officers who gunned down.
Even if you read this article, he admits
it. So he's not playing on the fact that you have police officers still walking around with guns to their hips that shot these two unarmed African Americans 137 times. You have 13 officers involved in this shooting. 8.18 seconds it took to pop off 137 rounds. Absolutely ridiculous, unprecedented, never heard of before. And you have Timothy McGinty dragging Jimmy DeMora, who already has the rest of his life to spend in federal prison, back here so that he can bring charges against him. If this is not the craziest Istanbul I have ever seen in my life, I don't know what is.
Well, not really. This is the same.
Thank you.
This is the same young man that did the racist cartoon. Remember of Cookie walking across the street back in the Plain Dealer, where people were upset the way he portrayed her just as she had got shot, coming from the store. So he is known for these type of things. This is nothing new for him.
Here's what I'm sick of. I'm sick of the Plain Dealer and Tom Barris and these other reporters that all they can talk about is Lancey's money. They can talk about his tan. They can talk about his car, his Bentley. Why don't you tell me, so you're telling me we shouldn't have a mayor who has money, we shouldn't have a mayor who has a tan, and we shouldn't have a mayor who drives a Bentley?
We're not looking for the outer qualities of a mayor.
But
right.
Is that the worst thing you could tell me? Let me tell you something. If that's the worst thing that we have to deal with him in terms of being a mayor, he need to be the mayor.
Anybody but the incumbent.
Hello? But he needs to be the mayor. If that's the worst thing the media could come up with, listen, if you're going to give me some media on Ken Lancey, find Ken Lancey with his mistress in the Bentley, okay, getting a tan. Okay?
Give me something to grasp.
Make it so that you got some dirt on him. Show me Ken Lancey sitting in the front seat taking money from a well-known gangster or something in his Bentley. Show me something that tells me that we can look beyond the money, look beyond the car, look beyond the tan. You're not giving me or the voters any reason not to vote for him.
Like you said, that Bentley is something that he strived to work for. And let's take this to another level. I hear a lot of ministers, when they have their Cadillacs and they drive them into the church lot, what they say? What's the reason that they buy them Cadillacs for?
I don't know. Why they buy a Cadillac?
Because they say it's their toys. That's something that they worked hard for. Wait a minute,
because they sent the plate around 3 times.
Because they sent the plate around 3 times. So if this, I'm like you, if this the only thing you can hit this man on is his Bentley, then it's something else that, we need to be finding.
I don't understand. What is it? If we're going to be focused on him having a Bentley and a tan and whatever other stupid, the real story here is one line, and it should have been a whole story. He's now endorsed by who? The CPD.
We already know who the Plain Dealer is going to endorse in the race. They done showed this numerous times.
Like
not
Ed
just,
Fitzgerald.
Not just with the editorial, but also with the stories they have ran on Lancey. For what? I mean, that's just giving him more attention and more for people to look into what he really stands for.
Well,
and if they came to the event on Monday, you would hear what Lancey stood for. What was he all about? I mean, I was with a person who said they were going to vote for Frank Jackson, but after listening to Lancey, they said they may change their vote to Lancey.
But that's the whole point. Mr. Lancey came and he, first of all, we have a mayor who's not interested in engaging with the public. He's not interested in engaging in the public. He showed that because this was a public event.
Mm-hmm.
He wants to pick and choose who he's going to do a forum.
Well, I don't think it's him who wants to pick and choose.
Well, you know what?
Who goes to and from.
But you got to remember, he put him in that position.
Yeah.
So I mean, if he's got him in that position to be his watchdog, then yeah, he does. He wants to pick and choose where he goes and who he interacts with. But that was a public event. That was an event for the public. Jerome, you on line one?
Yeah, go ahead, caller. You got the air.
Yes, good evening. How are you doing?
Good. How are you?
Oh, okay.
Go ahead. You got the air.
Okay, I wanted to talk about Mr. Lancey. Like, you said the media just talking about his cars, his tan, or whatever, right? But no one would talk about the radio show that he had, which he was spouting some Tea Party philosophy.
Okay, Jerome, you should have come on Monday to the event, and you would have been able to ask him that, because what we did was we allowed everyone to write their questions down, put their names to it, and the moderator asked those questions to Mr. Lancey. That was your opportunity, which, again, I keep saying, we could get behind these mics, we could say these things for you, but it's better to come from you. And if you had a problem with whatever you heard Mr. Lancey say before, you should have been at that event and you should have asked that question yourself. And that's the whole purpose of putting this together.
There were people who asked questions of him.
That's right.
That were not favorable to him.
Exactly. People came in and they asked questions like this. They said one of the questions that was presented was,
how
many African Americans and minorities do you have working for your current company?
Yes, several. I do know that.
Hold on, Jerome. I want you to hear me out.
Okay.
You had people that came in and said, how many minorities do you have working for your company? The next question that smacked him in the face was this. 58% of voters in Cuyahoga County and Cleveland are African-American females. If you're elected, will your cabinet reflect that? There were questions that were asked of him he was not expected to answer that man answered.
That was softball, if you ask me. No one asked him about his comments he made on certain stations.
Okay, if you had a
or Channel 19 helping him out.
Hold on. You had an opportunity to be there and you weren't there. But here's what I got for you. Hold on. Here's what I got for you, Jerome, because that's what's making me angry about my community. We're giving you the opportunity to do this stuff and you're not taking the opportunity. I can only do but so much. I'm going to have Mr. Lancey back on this show next Friday.
Out of my mouth.
He's going to be back on this show next Friday, and I want you to call in, and any questions you have to ask him, you ask him, and you get the answers.
Right out of my mouth.
Thanks. I appreciate that a lot.
Please.
Okay.
Keep listening, please.
Don't keep calling and complaining that we're not giving you what you want or what you need.
I didn't say that.
Not you. I'm not just talking about you. I'm talking about people who are saying that, this and this. We're creating opportunity for the public to do these things, and the public is not taking that opportunity. The opportunity was there. There were 200 seats available on Monday. 85 people showed up. It was on our website, our Facebook page. It was in the news. It was in the newspaper. It was everywhere. And we gave away tickets. We gave away 30 free tickets, and we only had 10 people call in and get on the website and get the tickets. We had 10 people that took the tickets. So if I create the opportunity for you to come and ask at a forum, be there. Be there. Now, you may know something because you heard something that someone else didn't hear. You may need to be there so that you can ask those questions because somebody else can't ask the question. They don't know to ask the question. I'm creating the opportunity for you to do what you need to do as a tax-paying, voting citizen, and I'm trying to empower this community to ask these politicians and these potential politicians, what is your platform? We need to restore the democratic process, and we're not going to do that by sitting in back rooms, grumbling and complaining. It needs to be out in the forefront. It needs to be out in the public, and the questions, the tough questions, need to be asked. So I'm going to have Mr. Lancey back on this show next Friday, and you and anybody else that has tough questions for him, call in and give him those questions. And if you're not satisfied with the answer, tell them I'm not satisfied with that answer. Give me a better answer. Because that's what our organization does. That's what we do. And if I had Mayor Frank Jackson sitting here or calling in, he would need to answer the question, why is Michael Brelow and Cynthia Moore still walking around on my tax-paying streets with a gun attached to their hip? I don't feel safe. Explain that to me. Tough questions, real questions, things that come down on our community, that my kids, my African-American children are not being educated. It doesn't make sense to me. It's time for us to wake up, speak up, talk up, and stop being so apathetic and complacent to these punk-ass politicians. Enough is enough. I'm going to create the opportunity, every opportunity I get, so that you can come and ask these people the questions that you have to ask. Don't not come. Get there. Knock an old lady down, pick her up, bring her in with you. But either way it goes, I'm going to have Mr. Lancy here. Anybody that has a question for Mr. Lancy, and I'm going to invite your Frank Jackson back here. We know he's not coming.
My Frank Jackson.
No. I'm talking about the
when
people.
When Mr. Lancy was mentioning Tea Party stuff, I couldn't accept that. This is when he was running for the county government.
Well, tell him about it when you call in next Friday.
Okay, I really appreciate that.
Because nobody's going to get a sanitized interview on my show. I don't sanitize anything. In fact, I allowed Mr. Lancy's team to send some potential questions. I edited the questions. They didn't even know I was going to edit the questions. I edited the questions that were presented. Then on top of it, I threw in some more questions that they didn't even know was going to be on there. And you better believe they were not easy questions to answer. Am I wrong, Darnell?
You're absolutely correct.
But the one thing about Ken Lancy, and I will give credit where credit is due, he didn't punk out on none of them answers. He answered every single one of them. He didn't say pass, next, can I get a lifeline? Nothing. And then we took questions from the people that attended that event. And when those people attended the event, they wrote the questions down. We gave them to the moderator. And we even let the kids ask questions.
Okay, I have one more question. It's not about him. It's about, like, the problems with voter fraud. And, like in 2004, when I went to vote, they only had 3 voting machines. Now, this was the punch-type voting machine, right? And 2 of them, they said 2 of them was broke. Mm-hmm. I stood in line 3 hours to vote. And then, of course, you had, like, the last 2 elections, you had Fox News. They said, oh, this guy, he signed up to vote 72 times for a cigarette and a beer, which is coincidentally the same amount of virgins that's supposed to be in heaven. Fox speaking to their core audience, And so when you see, they had something else where they showed this woman say, oh, she got 9 Obama phones, which the program was started by Bush. And I think out of all the problems in our community, one of the main ones is Fox and Clear Channel.
Gotta look
but
beyond
that's not
the
the problem.
rhetoric.
That's not the problem.
I said one of the main problems.
No. They're not. They're not even the main problem. You know what the main problem is? Everybody that's listening to this radio show, go look in the mirror. That's your problem right there. Just go look in the mirror. The problem is that you are not more engaged with what's going on in your community and looking past the BS. If you know that's the BS, we need to be more engaged.
Are you familiar with Color Change and Afrosphere?
Yes. Can you hold on? Hold that thought. We have to go to another commercial. We'll be right back with OCU Forum.
This is an important announcement for anyone with a student loan who is having trouble making their monthly payments. Pay attention. There is a special toll-free hotline that has been set up especially for you. Grab a pen and take down this number or put it in your cell phone, but call 1-800-436-1225. That's 1-800-436-1225. When you call the Federal Student Loan Relief Hotline, you will get free information to help you relieve the overwhelming financial burden of an ongoing endless student loan. If you are behind, late on payments, or even in default on your student loan, Federal Student Loan Relief can help you. You can cut your payments in half right away. Federal Student Loan Relief will also stop the harassing phone calls, wage garnishments, and even remove tax liens. But you have to call 1-800-436-1225. Federal Student Loan Relief has helped thousands of people just like you fix their student loan problem. Call 1-800-436-1225 for free information today. That's 1-800-436-1225.
I'm in the car next to you on the highway. I sit in front of you on the bus. I'm 1 out of every 6 Americans, and I'm struggling with hunger. This isn't an uncontrollable epidemic. There's enough food in this country to feed every hungry person. Please, visit feedingamerica.org today and find your local food bank. Every dollar you donate helps provide 7 meals for those around you, quietly struggling with hunger. Together, we're Feeding America.
Brought to you by Feeding America and the Ad Council.
Did you catch Huggy?
Lee Daniels movie made about $25 million. Do y'all hear me? Do y'all hear me?
I hear you, $25 million.
Okay. Tom Silver J, and not just black people went to go see the movie Bella. Oh, it was just segregated up in that Mickey face. And that movie with Matt Damon, that didn't have a chance because people couldn't pronounce it. How you pronounce it, Sybil?
Elysium.
Because I was calling it Elysium, then I called it Ulcer, then I said Elsie in there.
The Tom Joyner Morning Show.
Weekdays 6 to 9 a.m.
On News Talk 1490 WERE and streaming live on the new BlackPlanetRadio.com.
At times, the path to recovery from a mental and substance use disorder may be unclear. But laying a strong foundation with the support of others makes all the difference. For information on mental and substance use disorders, including prevention and treatment referral, call 1-800-662-HELP. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.
Love plus love equals love.
This is Sister Juanita Shealy inviting you to tune in every Sunday from 2 p.m. to 3 p.m. to listen to God's saving word. You will find
Joanne Topoli,
Danny Carlton,
and many wonderful guests to inspire, affirm, and challenge you. So we'll see you. God bless you.
WERE, Cleveland Heights, powered by the new BlackPlanetRadio.com.
Welcome back to OCU Forum.
Your forum.
I'm Darnell Brewer, and this is
Miss Mariah.
And right before we went to break, we were having a conversation with Jerome. I'm not mistaken. Are you still on the line?
Yes, I'm still on the line.
Yeah, go ahead. Finish your comment that you were making.
Okay. I was making a point like groups like the Afro Spirit, Color of Change, or Black Cost, which is a subset of Daily Cost. A lot of people use Twitter, the internet, or that way to get the message around. And sometimes I do use Daily Coast or other forms of that, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But, you know, people can be active, you know. Maybe somebody's in the Nation of Islam, somebody's in the Urban League. It doesn't mean they're against each other. They're just in different groups. So I'm not against what someone's doing unless they're against me or whatever. But
your politicians are against you. Every time you drive down the street, pothole, pothole, pothole. Your politicians are against you. Your kids not being educated. Your politicians are against you. Surveillance cameras.
Well, that's another thing. The surveillance cameras. I had a problem when the state Senate passed the law. It was 3 Republicans that voted for that, right? And that's how East Cleveland basically make their money. Which, if a Republican want to make East Cleveland like Detroit, they could take that away. Not that I like to be stopped and paid for those tickets, but East Cleveland has no other way of funding. Since the housing patterns of the 60s and 70s, all the rich companies and whites moved out, and there was nothing left for African Americans to work with.
Well, they must not be making too much money because they didn't make their payroll again. They didn't make a payroll again, so they're not even able to make their payroll. So evidently they're not making the money.
Who are going to bed hungry because they can't get paid. They didn't get paid.
Hey, you know, my rule is I'm not getting paid, I ain't coming to work. Once you got my money, call me, I'll be back.
Well, that's dedication. Some people are dedicated.
That's not dedicated. That's stupid. That's stupid.
That's for the love of your city now, Mariah. Come on now.
Love of city. No. See, that's the whole problem. We continue to do stupid things, and then when we get these type of responses and we get treated the way we get treated, we want to complain about it. No, we quit setting ourselves up. Wake up. It's time to wake up. Put the Kool-Aid down.
Yeah, a lot of people need to wake up, and Jerome, thank you for your call.
We appreciate you calling.
Keep on listening. But a lot of people need to wake up, not just in our communities, but we have touched a lot of topics today.
I ain't touching nothing.
Where on things that need to be addressed in our community, and we have a long way to go.
I don't have nowhere to go. I'm going back home to Plenty Do Right. I'm tired of y'all.
And before you leave us, we still have a long way to. We're gonna still have a long way to go.
Nah, well, whatever. Y'all on your own, because I'm getting tired of it.
Well, I'm already excited. Come help us
I can't wait.
You know, I just think it's interesting because, you know, when we're looking at this in totality of what's happening here in this city, you know, you have the incumbents and their henchmen, which are stealing signs, throwing bricks through windows, trying to intimidate the upcoming candidates that are opposition. That's not a good, healthy competition for a seat. That's just plain ignorant. So I'm looking at Jeff Johnson's comments about, it's just outrageous and it just should not happen. No, what should not happen is a council person walking over and snatching something out of somebody's hand in a public meeting in a public building paid by public funds. Nobody's talking about that. I don't understand why we have settled for less, and now that we have less, we expect less, but we cried about it. It's just time to wake up. It's time to do more for our communities. It's time to do more for our children. I think it's interesting because yesterday I saw Mr. Jackson. He got some windmills put up or something for green energy. Okay, but my kids are uneducated. I don't care about a wind mine.
Well, there's so much that we have to do in this city, in this great city that we call Cleveland.
What I say, evacuate all of the residents, leave the politicians, nuke it, come back, let's clean it up and start all over. Oh, never mind, forget it. Roaches and politicians, they survive.
They survive it all. Well, we have to leave until next week.
I'm not going. You can't make me. No.
They keep telling us we got to get up out of here for some odd reason.
Darnell kicking us off the air in the daytime. Yeah.